An infertile millionaire was unaware that he had 2 children just like him until he hosted a winter party. Where are you tuning in from? Share your thoughts in the comments. Immerse yourself in this captivating tale. The morning sunlight streamed through the expansive windows of Alexander Hayes' penthouse, creating elongated golden patterns on the luxurious Italian marble floors. By the age of 45, Alexander had accumulated a fortune that many could only fantasize about. The kind that granted him this breathtaking perspective of Manhattan's skyline and the opportunity to orchestrate what would become the most discussed winter gala of the season. He lingered by the window, cradling a warm cup of coffee, observing as the December snow softly blanketed the city beneath him. His reflection in the glass unveiled a figure with salt and pepper hair, sharp features that had only become more refined with time, and eyes that held a trace of sadness despite his achievements. The final guest list has been approved. Mr. Hayes was informed by his personal assistant, Vanessa, as she entered the living room with purpose, tablet in hand. There are 317 confirmed attendees, featuring several notable city officials and that tech billionaire you've been eager to connect with. Alexander acknowledged with a nod, his gaze fixed on the window. What about the preparations for the announcement? The unveiling of the ring. Everything is ready. The custom setting from the jeweler arrived yesterday and is now securely stored in your safe. The string quartet is poised to signal when you're prepared to share the news, and the champagne fountain will be revealed immediately afterward. It was Vanessa's remarkable efficiency that justified the exorbitant salary he paid her. Every detail was accounted for in her careful preparation. Flawless. Alexander finally pivoted, placing his coffee on a nearby table. This must be perfect, Vanessa. Rebecca is worthy of nothing short of excellence for our engagement announcement. Vanessa beamed. After 2 years of dating, I believe she might be anticipating it, sir. Yet, the enchanting winter wonderland theme and the unexpected twist will undoubtedly leave her in awe. Alexander permitted a subtle smile to grace his lips. At 45, he had finally discovered a partner with whom he envisioned a future. Even if that future wouldn't encompass the children he had once envisioned. He couldn't help but notice the irony. He possessed all that wealth could offer, yet lacked the power to bring forth life. A harsh turn of events revealed itself when he was merely 30, just before his first wife Catherine departed from his life. Sir, Vanessa paused, her typical assurance wavering just a bit. I have an unexpected RSVP that I need to bring to your attention. The shift in her tone caused Alexander to arch an eyebrow. Catherine Winters, your former spouse, has agreed to attend. She has mentioned that she will be bringing along 2 guests. The atmosphere shifted abruptly, a chill creeping in as Alexander's jaw clenched with tension. Catherine, I did not give my consent for her invitation. It was included in the list of courtesies for business associates. Her fresh design studio collaborates with a number of your associates. I brought it to your attention last month, but you were in Tokyo for the merger discussions. Alexander had a faint recollection of putting his signature on a pile of papers during that journey. Too focused on the billion-dollar deal to examine every name closely. Catherine. Nearly 12 years had passed since their divorce. A heart-wrenching end to what he had once believed would last an eternity. Following his diagnosis, she remained for an additional 2 years, yet the burden ultimately became overwhelming. The relentless cycle of fertility treatments, the mounting bitterness, his retreat into work as a means of escape. It all came to a head as she turned away, seeking the family he was unable to provide. Should I reach out to her office and withdraw the acceptance? Vanessa inquired with caution. Alexander remained silent for a considerable time, as memories surged through him like a chilling tide. No, he finally declared, his voice resolute. More than 10 years have passed. We are grown-ups. I am thrilled to share the news of my engagement to Rebecca. If Catherine wishes to observe that, so be it. He adjusted his stance, retreating behind the facade of the assured entrepreneur. Ensure that she is positioned away from the central gathering. Absolutely, sir. Vanessa jotted down a note before proceeding with the day's agenda, yet Alexander's thoughts had already wandered off to another place. Catherine was set to bring along 2 guests. Had she taken the plunge into marriage again? Did she finally have the children she had longed for so intensely? The idea settled heavily within him, a weight he couldn't shake off. He reassured himself that it was all in the past, that he had moved forward, yet the haunting pang of unfulfilled possibilities still resided just below the facade of his meticulously crafted existence. Later that evening, as Alexander's driver maneuvered through the snow-laden streets on the way to his midtown office, his phone buzzed with a message from Rebecca, a snapshot of her in a boutique, with a glimpse of white fabric reflected in the mirror behind her. Searching for the ideal gown for your enigmatic winter soiree. I would appreciate a clue regarding the theme. Adore you. Alexander wore a smile, even as the weight in his chest lingered since the morning. Rebecca embodied all he could desire. Intelligent, self-sufficient, compassionate, and importantly, she had come to terms with the reality that he was unable to have children long before their relationship deepened. At 38, she was dedicated to her profession as a neurosurgeon and had never shown any desire for motherhood. They complemented each other seamlessly, two driven individuals who had discovered a bond free from the intricate yearnings that had fractured his previous marriage. He responded, "The element of surprise is part of the enjoyment. Ensure it's something that makes you feel like royalty." He paused for a moment before saying, "I love you too." As the vehicle approached the shining skyscraper adorned with the Hayes Industries emblem, Alexander relegated thoughts of Catherine to the recesses of his mind. He constructed a vast empire from nothing, turning his father's faltering manufacturing venture into a worldwide technology powerhouse. He had triumphed over every challenge life presented, save for that singular biological impossibility. Yet he claimed to have come to terms with it, or so he convinced himself. Following his divorce, he immersed himself in his work, ventured into global markets, and saw his net worth double. Achievement had filled the void of the family he was unable to attain. The days preceding the gala were filled with a whirlwind of last-minute arrangements. The ballroom of the Whitley, New York's most exclusive hotel was transformed into an enchanting winter wonderland. Glistening icicles dangled from the ceiling, refracting light and scattering it like precious gems throughout the room. Majestic ice sculptures, delicate white roses, and thoughtfully arranged lighting conjured an enchanting forest within the bustling heart of Manhattan. Every resource was utilized to the fullest. This would serve as the backdrop for the forthcoming chapter of Alexander's journey. On the morning of the gala, Alexander stood before his bathroom mirror, examining his reflection while he meticulously adjusted his bow tie. Fortune had favored his looks. Consistent workouts with his personal trainer had preserved his athletic physique, while the gentle marks of time only enhanced the character of his features. Yet, his eyes still held that same shadow they had worn for 15 years, ever since the day a gray-faced doctor had imparted the news that changed the trajectory of his existence. The specialist had delivered the news after months of tests. 0 sperm count. Regrettably, it seems that the condition is likely to be lasting, Mr. Hayes. There are alternative paths to parenthood, such as adoption or using sperm donors, but the biological aspect of fathering a child is not an option for you. Catherine wept for days on end. Alexander had withdrawn into a quiet resolve, pouring his sorrow into relentless 16-hour work days. They had made efforts to progress, sought out different options, yet the vision of having children who resembled both of them, who shared their combined DNA, remained too dear to Catherine. Ultimately, the emotional divide had expanded beyond the possibility of reconciliation. "You look very handsome," Rebecca's voice broke through his thoughts as she stepped into the bathroom, clad in her robe, her dark hair still encased in a towel. She pressed a soft kiss to his cheek, mindful of preserving her meticulously applied makeup. "Are you prepared for this evening?" Alexander smiled, casting aside the past yet again. "Completely prepared. While I still believe it's unjust that I haven't had the chance to see your dress." Rebecca's laughter rang out, a delightful melody that never failed to lift his spirits. You've left me in the shadows regarding this whole affair for months. The dress is my sole asset." She examined his features with greater scrutiny. "Is everything all right? You appear somewhat removed." Alexander thought about sharing the news of Catherine's anticipated arrival, but ultimately chose not to. Why burden the night with past shadows? just the typical nerves before the event. I desire for everything to be flawless. It will be, she promised, gently squeezing his hand. Now, complete your preparations, and I'll see you downstairs in an hour. I require the restroom to unleash my creativity. As Alexander stepped away to grant her some solitude, his phone vibrated with a message from Vanessa, assuring him that all was unfolding smoothly at the venue. He replied with a text of acknowledgement before unlocking his safe to take out the ring, a perfect 5-carat diamond set in platinum, uniquely crafted to complement Rebecca's refined style. This evening signifies the dawn of his renewed pursuit of joy, a path forged through practical hopes and shared insights. By 7 o'clock, the Whitley was welcoming its first guests. Alexander stood at the entrance of the ballroom, with Rebecca glowing beside him in a breathtaking ice blue gown that seemed to embody the theme flawlessly, even though she was unaware of it. Her dark hair was elegantly swept up in a twist, showcasing the graceful curve of her neck, which was adorned with a simple diamond pendant, a cherished gift from their first anniversary. "You never cease to amaze me," he whispered to her as they exchanged pleasantries with another couple. "How were you able to choose the ideal dress without being aware of the theme?" She wore a smile that held secrets untold. "The instinctive wisdom of a woman. Or perhaps I sweetened the deal with Vanessa for some clues." Alexander let out a soft laugh, sensing the pressure that had accumulated throughout the day start to dissipate. This was his night, their night. Nothing could eclipse that, not even the emergence of Alexander. "It has been quite a while." The recognizable voice surged through him like a shockwave. He turned to see Catherine before him, as graceful as always, adorned in a rich burgundy dress that beautifully contrasted with her blonde hair, now styled in a chic bob that accentuated her features. At 43, she exuded a captivating beauty, yet the delicate lines framing her eyes hinted at the inevitable march of time. "Catherine," he controlled his tone with deliberate neutrality. "Thank you for being here." He sensed Rebecca's grip subtly firm around his arm. "I wouldn't miss it," Catherine replied, her smile failing to illuminate her eyes. "Well done on achieving so much. Hayes Industries seems to be omnipresent these days." Alexander gave a slight nod. "Thanks a lot. Let me present to you Rebecca Miller, my..." If the rumors hold true, Catherine has stepped in as his fiancée-to-be, reaching out her hand to Rebecca. "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Your innovative contributions to neurosurgery have caught my attention." Rebecca received the handshake with poise. "Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance." A heavy silence loomed, poised to envelop the room, until Catherine broke it once more. "I trust it's all right, but I brought my kids along. They are merely inspecting their coats." The invitation specified 2 additional guests. Young ones. The term lingered in the atmosphere surrounding them. Thus, Catherine had ultimately discovered what she had been seeking. Alexander experienced a familiar ache coil within his chest, yet he held onto his poise. Certainly, the greater the number, the more enjoyable it becomes. Just as expected, 2 figures emerged from behind Catherine. Alexander steeled himself for the encounter with her new family, ready to confront the tangible embodiment of what he could never provide her. Yet, as the duo approached, his well-rehearsed smile became rigid, stuck in place. They were twins, a boy and a girl, likely around 11 or 12 years of age. The young lad donned a tiny tuxedo, complete with a bow tie that hung just a bit askew, while the young lady was adorned in a lush green velvet dress, accentuated by a crisp white sash. Yet, it wasn't the elegance of their formal attire that made Alexander's heart race. Their faces were familiar, evoking a profound sense of recognition that took his breath away for a fleeting moment. The boy possessed a strong jawline and a prominent nose. The girl possessed his eyes, that distinctive hue of hazel interspersed with glimmers of gold, which he gazed upon in the mirror each day. Both sported a cowlick in their hair that swept to the right, mirroring his own obstinate lock that no styling could ever tame. "Alexander, Rebecca, these are my children Ethan and Emma," Catherine said, her casual tone laced with an unusual tension. "Children, allow me to introduce Mr. Hayes and Dr. Miller." The twins graciously offered their hands, resembling perfect little adults. It was a pleasure to meet you, they remarked, their voices harmonizing as they offered synchronized formal nods that felt strangely reminiscent. In a similar vein, Alexander responded instinctively, his thoughts swirling rapidly. It must have been mere coincidence, a play of light, or perhaps his mind conjuring images after the strain of encountering Catherine once more. It was utterly impossible. "Mom, Mr. Hayes has the same eyes as me," Emma remarked, her gaze directed upward at her mother with a sense of wonder. Alexander caught a glimpse of an emotion flicker across Catherine's face. Fear, guilt, before she swiftly shifted her expression. "A great number of individuals possess hazel eyes, darling. Now, let's locate our table and allow the hosts to welcome their other guests." As Catherine guided the children away, Alexander remained motionless, his gaze fixed on their retreating figures. It was more than just the eyes. The boy stood there, hands tucked into his pockets, mirroring Alexander's own anxious tendency. The girl's smile revealed a delicate dimple in her right cheek. It was a multitude of intricate nuances that appeared utterly unexplainable. "Alex," Rebecca's worried tone cut through his stupor. "How are you doing? You appear as though you've encountered something quite unsettling." "I'm fine," he replied instinctively, even though he felt quite the opposite. It was quite unexpected to encounter her again after such a long period. Rebecca observed him intently. "That was your former spouse, correct? The individual who departed due to my inability to have children," he concluded. "Absolutely." Rebecca's brow furrowed ever so slightly. "The children appear to be approximately 11 or 12 years old. That signifies. She must have found someone new soon after our divorce," Alexander remarked, the calculations clear in his mind as well. "Let's move on from it. We have visitors to welcome." As the festivities unfolded and guests poured in, Alexander's gaze wandered restlessly around the room, ever on the lookout for the familiar figures of the twins. Every time he caught sight of them, that disquieting feeling of familiarity intensified. It was more than mere fantasy. Those children possessed an eerie sense of familiarity. Dinner was presented at exactly 8:30, a 5-course creation crafted by a renowned chef. Alexander occupied the head table alongside Rebecca and their dearest companions, yet his attention drifted as he absent-mindedly toyed with his meal, drawn to the sight of Catherine at a distant table with her children. He observed Ethan as he carefully positioned his silverware with precision between courses. Yet another habit that Alexander acknowledged as belonging to him. As Emma laughed, her head tilted back at the precise angle he recognized from childhood photographs of himself. "Your speech is in 15 minutes, Vanessa whispered as she glided past his chair. "The ring is ready for the presentation." Alexander nodded, inhaling deeply. He had to concentrate. This evening was focused on his future with Rebecca, rather than getting lost in the peculiar coincidences of his past. He extended his hand toward the water glass just as Emma, positioned across the room, mirrored his action, both utilizing their left hands even though they were eating with their right. The unusual mixed-handedness that had consistently set him apart. "Excuse me," he whispered to Rebecca. "I require a brief pause prior to the presentation." He navigated to a serene corridor beyond the ballroom, easing his bow tie a bit as he sought to collect his thoughts. The resemblances were undeniably compelling, far too precise to be attributed to coincidence. However, it was biologically unfeasible. The expert had been unequivocal. His condition was congenital. He had never been able to produce viable sperm. It was impossible for those children to exist. "They're yours," came Catherine's voice from behind him, soft yet resolute. "I understand that's what you're considering, and you are correct." Alexander pivoted gradually, sensing as if the ground had vanished beneath his feet. "That can't be done. It's clear that can't happen." Catherine inched forward, her gaze a blend of challenge and unease. "I believed that as well until roughly 2 months post-divorce, when I discovered I was expecting. However, the physicians' various perspectives, they all stated, indeed, you had azoospermia. However, what remained unknown at the time, and what medical science had yet to fully grasp, was that certain men with your condition can occasionally generate a minuscule quantity of sperm. This amount may not be detectable through standard testing, yet it could suffice for conception given the appropriate conditions. Alexander gazed at her, a tumult of incredulity clashing with the undeniable proof before him. So, you never considered sharing that with me? For 12 years, you allowed me to think I would never be a parent while you nurtured my own? I attempted to reach out to you, Catherine said, a trace of past pain lingering in her tone. Thrice, your assistant mentioned that you had a lot on your plate. The third time your lawyer reached out to me, it seemed you thought I was seeking additional alimony. Following that, indeed I made a decision. I chose to take on the responsibility of raising them myself. That isn't. Alexander began, then hesitated, as memories surged forth. The months following the divorce unfolded in a haze of global negotiations and a steadfast commitment to relentless productivity. He had directed his team to keep Catherine at bay, believing that any interaction would merely reopen wounds that were just starting to mend. They remain unaware, Catherine continued. I haven't shared much about you, just that my former husband was a businessman named Alexander Hayes. I never planned for them to encounter you, but then your invitation came, and, she sighed. Perhaps a part of me hoped they would understand the origins of half their genetic makeup. Perhaps I hoped you'd recognize what you overlooked. Alexander's knees buckled, prompting him to lean against the wall for stability. Twins, he murmured. A young lad and a young lass. My little ones. They're incredible children, Catherine remarked, her face reflecting the warmth of a mother's pride. Ethan possesses a remarkable talent for mathematics, much like yourself. Emma has a deep passion for architecture. She creates the most astonishing structures. Both possess your tenacity and keen intellect. Alexander felt a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in his mind. For all those years, he had constructed his existence on the unwavering belief that fatherhood would never be part of his journey. He chose companions who were disinterested in having children, steering clear of connections with women who might dream of a miracle. He had crafted his whole life around the notion of what he perceived to be an unchangeable aspect of his biology. Tonight, I will share the news of my engagement, he declared, the phrase feeling oddly unfamiliar even to him. To a woman who selected me in part due to my declaration that I could never become a father. Catherine's expression was a mystery, shrouded in ambiguity. I apologize for the timing. I had no idea that was the focus of tonight. What is the reason for this moment? Alexander inquired, a surge of anger igniting within him. What's the point of coming at all? The invitation could have been turned down. Perhaps after all these years, I felt it was time for you to understand, Catherine responded. Perhaps I had grown weary of shouldering this secret by myself. The music of the string quartet filled the ballroom, signaling that the announcement was about to take place. Alexander's envisioned future and his mysterious past had intersected in the most dramatic fashion, leaving him in a hotel corridor, burdened by the heavy load of years filled with misunderstandings. I must leave, he declared, his posture straightening as if propelled by an invisible strength. We will discuss this later, everything included. Catherine gave a slight nod. They are wonderful children, Alexander. Whatever you choose to do with this information, please keep that in mind. As Alexander stepped back into the ballroom, his thoughts swirled with a tempest of contrasting feelings. Rebecca beamed at him from their table, glowing with anticipation, oblivious to the fact that his entire reality had just been turned upside down. In the distance, two children, his children, shared a joyful laugh, blissfully ignorant of the impending transformation that awaited their lives. The orchestra finished their performance as Alexander assumed his place at the heart of the room. 300 pairs of eyes fixed on him, anticipating the announcement they all anticipated. As he stood there scanning the crowd, his gaze met Emma's inquisitive hazel eyes, and in that moment, he understood that everything had changed forever. Alexander cleared his throat, the carefully crafted engagement speech suddenly feeling unfamiliar on his tongue. The crowd stood in eager anticipation, champagne glasses held aloft. Rebecca offered a warm smile from her seat, oblivious to the storm of turmoil brewing inside him. He cast a quick look at Vanessa, positioned by the audio equipment, her subtle nod signaling that all was set for his significant moment. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Alexander began, his voice steady despite the chaos within. "It truly means everything to have such a wonderful gathering of friends and colleagues." His gaze briefly darted to Catherine's table, where family gathered to honor this momentous event. He persisted with his captivating eloquence, portraying the winter wonderland theme as a metaphor for fresh starts, for beauty arising from the frigid seasons of existence. The words now resonated with emptiness, heavy with irony he was unable to convey. While he recounted his journey to rediscovering love, his gaze subtly drifted to the twins in his peripheral vision. Emma listened with keen attention, her head tilted ever so slightly, reminiscent of how his mother used to describe his own focus. Ethan fiddled with his cufflinks, turning them first one way and then the other, a restless habit that had accompanied Alexander throughout his life. As Alexander drew closer to the moment of truth, "It is with immense pleasure that I have brought you all together this evening, not merely for our annual winter gala, but for a truly significant announcement." This was the moment, the signal for the unveiling of the ring. The string quartet commenced their performance of Rebecca's cherished melody, while servers glided through the crowd, offering fresh champagne. Alexander gazed at Rebecca, noticing the eager spark in her eyes, the unwavering trust and affection she had bestowed upon him throughout the last 2 years. She had selected him, aware that he couldn't provide her with children, convinced that that part of his life was permanently behind him. "Before I proceed," Alexander remarked, stepping away from his prepared words, "I'd like to raise a glass to unforeseen revelations and the extraordinary manner in which life can astonish us when we are least prepared for it." Bewilderment danced in Rebecca's eyes as the crowd lifted their glasses. This was not included in the strategy. Vanessa cast a curious glance his way from the other side of the room, yet Alexander continued, buying himself valuable moments to ponder. "Rebecca," he said as he approached her table, "you entered my life at a time when I believed some doors were forever shut. You embraced me completely, even the parts one thought were my shortcomings." Rebecca's smile wavered just a bit as Alexander grasped her hand and assisted her in rising to her feet. The spotlight glided over to the center of the ballroom, illuminating a small table adorned with white silk, upon which rested a crystal box, the elegant vessel for the engagement ring. "I intend to pose a question of great significance this evening," Alexander continued, his voice dropping to a whisper, intended solely for her, even as the microphone transmitted it throughout the entire room. "However, the situation has evolved in ways I never saw coming. I would like to request something else before we proceed. If you could be patient with me? I've come across a revelation that shifts the entire perspective, and before we proceed any further, it's essential for me to grasp its significance." Soft murmurs flowed among the gathering. Rebecca's expression transformed from bewilderment to worry. "Alex, what's happening?" she murmured. "I assure you, I will clarify everything," he responded gently. "However, I cannot pose the question I intend to ask until I have worked through this matter. It wouldn't be just for either of us." To her credit, Rebecca held her ground, her gaze probing his for the explanations he was unable to offer at that time. Alexander faced the guests, who had succumbed to a profound silence. "I sincerely apologize for the alteration in tonight's schedule, dear friends. Do take pleasure in the rest of the evening. Savor the food, relish the music, and cherish the company. Rebecca and I need to have a private conversation about a few important matters." With a subtle gesture to the orchestra conductor, the music surged once more, enveloping the uncomfortable silence as Alexander led Rebecca toward a secluded anteroom adjacent to the grand ballroom. As they navigated the throng, he locked eyes with Catherine. She offered a subtle, nearly undetectable nod, a wave of comprehension washing over her expression. The twins observed with keen interest, oblivious to the fact that they were at the heart of a captivating story unfolding around them. Upon entering the secluded space, Rebecca withdrew her hand from Alexander's hold, her composed demeanor unraveling into a state of rightful bewilderment. "Alex, what on earth is going on? Your behavior has been quite unusual throughout the evening, and now this?" People seem to believe that you simply got nervous about making the proposal. Alexander settled into one of the luxurious chairs, the heaviness of the evening finally enveloping him. My apologies, Rebecca. Something has occurred, something beyond belief, and I couldn't proceed with the proposal until you were aware of the truth. What truth? She demanded, standing tall with her arms crossed protectively over her chest. Those children with Catherine, Alexander began, the words still feeling surreal. They belong to me. Mine by nature. Rebecca gazed at him, her expression a mix of astonishment and incredulity. That can't be done. Multiple specialists have provided you with a diagnosis. Your whole existence has been shaped by the reality that parenthood is not in your future. I understand. I recently discovered that, in rare instances, men with my condition may sometimes generate a sufficient amount of viable sperm for conception. Catherine discovered she was expecting after our divorce, and his voice trembled a bit, revealing something I had never known. The twins are now 11 years old, and they have been growing up without my presence all this time. Rebecca's expertise came to the forefront as she absorbed this information. Oligospermia with sporadic viable production. She whispered. It's uncommon yet recorded. But Alex, are you really certain? This might be an act of manipulation or merely a coincidence. You didn't see them up close? Alexander remarked, raking his fingers through his hair. They possess my gaze, my quirks, and even my unique way of using both hands. It's as if I can observe my younger self divided into two distinct individuals. Catherine indeed confirmed it. She attempted to reach out to me years ago, but I was so consumed by my work, so resolute in evading further pain, that I shut down any communication from her. Rebecca settled into the chair across from him, the weight of the situation beginning to unfold in her mind. What exactly are you trying to convey? So, you've decided that engagement is no longer on your agenda? No, Alexander extended his hand towards her. I require some time to reflect on this matter, to determine the position I wish to hold in their lives, if at all, to grasp the implications of this for us. I couldn't propose to you tonight, aware that I've unexpectedly brought along complications I was unaware of this morning. Rebecca remained silent for a considerable time, her keen intellect processing the circumstances at hand. Those kids have no idea who you are, do they? Negative. Catherine mentioned that she never informed them. Then we have time, Rebecca said, her voice taking on a gentler tone. This isn't an urgent matter that requires resolution tonight, Alex. It's undoubtedly surprising, yet it's something we can navigate together. In her sentence, the word "we" sparked a glimmer of hope within Alexander. Are you not fleeing to safety? A faint, melancholic smile flickered across Rebecca's face. I found myself captivated by you, fully aware that you were unable to bear children. I found resolution with that long before our paths crossed. My professional journey has consistently taken precedence in my life. This alters the situation, indeed, but not in a negative manner. She hesitated, weighing her forthcoming words with great thought. However, Alex, it's essential to be truthful with yourself. Your identity has been constructed around this constraint. If that limitation were to vanish and you found yourself able to father children, would that alter your aspirations in life? It was a deep inquiry, one that Alexander had not yet found the opportunity to ponder amidst the chaos of revelation. For 15 years, he channeled his paternal instincts into guiding young executives, engaging in philanthropy, and creating a legacy through his company instead of through children. Was that true fulfillment or just a substitute for what he believed was out of reach? I'm not sure, he confessed. Yet, I understand that I must truly connect with them, genuinely connect. I seek to comprehend their identities. Rebecca inclined her head with a measured gesture. In that case, that's the course of action you ought to take. I'll be here, patiently awaiting your decision on what comes next. Alexander inclined his head, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. I am not worthy of you. She nodded, a trace of her characteristic wry humor evident in her agreement. Let's return to the scene before the rumors spiral out of control. I'll assist you in making the most of the evening. You could come up with a reason for the ring not being ready or any other narrative that helps save face. Tomorrow, you can discuss the next steps with Catherine and the kids. In the ballroom, the festivities carried on, albeit with a hint of restraint. The guests, unsure of the events that had unfolded, remained too courteous to leave prematurely. Catherine remained tense at her table, observing the twins as they indulged in the array of desserts from the lavish buffet, completely oblivious to the profound change unfolding in their family narrative. "Mom, can we check out the hotel?" Emma inquired, making her way back to the table with a plate of chocolate truffles. Ethan mentions a rooftop garden that offers a breathtaking view of the city. Catherine offered a constrained smile. "Not this evening, darling. It seems like it's time for us to make our way home shortly." "But it's only 10 o'clock, Ethan protested, glancing at his watch. A gesture so reminiscent of Alexander that Catherine felt a pang of guilt. "You mentioned we could remain until 11. "I understand," yet Catherine started to speak, only to be cut off by Alexander's return. He and Rebecca stepped back into the ballroom. Their smiles rehearsed, yet a subtle tension danced in their eyes. "Catherine," Alexander inquired as he neared their table, "may I have a word with you? And maybe finally get to know Ethan and Emma?" Catherine paused, her gaze flickering to Rebecca, who offered a subtle nod of encouragement before drifting off to engage with other guests. Catherine nodded in agreement, her voice barely above a whisper. "Children, Mr. Hayes wishes to have a conversation with us." The twins gazed up with intrigue as Alexander drew out a chair and settled at their table. The similarity was even more pronounced when viewed from a closer perspective. Ethan bore the strong jawline and analytical gaze that were hallmarks of Alexander, while Emma showcased his expressive eyes and the distinctive small cleft in her chin. "So," Alexander started off clumsily, "your mother mentioned that you're quite the mathematician, Ethan." The boy's expression brightened. "Math captivates me. I'm enrolled in the advanced placement program at school. Currently, we are delving into probability theory, which happens to be my favorite subject." "Probability theory was my favorite as well at your age," Alexander remarked, a sincere smile cutting through his tension. "I often found myself assessing probabilities for various situations, determining the quickest route to school or the fastest moving line at the cafeteria." "Same here," Ethan exclaimed, leaning forward with palpable enthusiasm. "My mom thinks it's strange, but it simply makes sense." Alexander cast a sidelong look at Catherine, who observed the interaction with a nuanced expression. "So, Emma, I've heard that architecture has caught your attention?" The girl nodded, her initial hesitance transforming into a spark of excitement. "I aspire to create structures that harmonize with the natural environment rather than oppose it. Architecture that harmonizes sustainability with beauty." "That's incredibly considerate," Alexander remarked, truly taken aback. "I would be thrilled to check out some of your designs at some point." Emma radiated joy. "Is that so? My birthday gift from Mom was a professional drafting table. I possess a multitude of sketches." As the dialogue unfolded, Catherine observed Alexander engaging with the children, catching fleeting glimpses of what could have been under different circumstances. He posed thoughtful questions, absorbed their responses with care, and demonstrated a sincere curiosity about their experiences without coming across as condescending. Traits she had recognized long ago would have made him an excellent father. After approximately 20 minutes of dialogue, Catherine softly interjected. "The hour is growing late, and both of you have school in the morning. It's time for us to make our way back home." Disappointment flickered on the faces of both children, and Catherine observed with surprise that it was also evident on Alexander's. "Before you leave," Alexander remarked, taking out a business card and jotting something down on the back, "I would like to extend an invitation to all of you for brunch tomorrow. In my penthouse. Let's carry on our discussion in a more laid-back atmosphere." He fixed his gaze on Catherine as he extended the card to her. "There is much more to explore." Catherine grasped the depth of significance in that seemingly straightforward remark. "Indeed," she responded softly. "At what hour?" 11? The location is indicated on the card. It's the Hayes Tower located on Central Park South. The penthouse features a private elevator. Simply inform security that you are my guests." As the twins collected their belongings, Alexander inhaled deeply and said, "Catherine, I believe it's time they learned the truth. Everything. Catherine's eyes flickered with surprise. Yet after a brief pause, she gave a subtle nod. Indeed, I believe that might be the case. Once they had left, Alexander stood solitary by the grand windows, gazing out at the snow-blanketed city. The gathering was reaching its conclusion, attendees starting to bid their goodbyes. Across the room, Rebecca managed the farewells with poise, even in light of the evening's unforeseen twist. He observed her with a sense of admiration for her calm demeanor, pondering whether she fully grasped the extent to which their future plans could shift. Vanessa approached her professional facade, a hint of worry showing through the cracks. The jeweler is inquiring about the next steps regarding the ring. Should I arrange for them to bring it back to your safe at home? Alexander paused to reflect. No, keep it close. This evening didn't unfold as I had envisioned, yet my resolve to marry Rebecca remains steadfast. I simply need to navigate this new development first. Vanessa nodded in acknowledgement. And sir, for what it's worth, those children appeared to be truly remarkable. Your analytical mind is evident. Alexander offered a subtle smile. They certainly do, don't they? Oh, Vanessa, I have kids. Biological offspring. After all these years of thinking it couldn't be done. Life has a way of unfolding, Vanessa remarked with a gentle smile. Dr. Malcolm was correct about that at the very least. The surprising Jurassic Park reference elicited a chuckle from Alexander, shattering the tension that had enveloped him throughout the evening. Certainly, he was. Now, I must navigate the challenge of becoming a father to two preteens who are unfamiliar with me. If it helps, Vanessa suggested, you've been guiding young executives for years. Your approach is one of understanding and motivation, skillfully balancing between urging forward and providing reassurance. Those traits are valuable in a parent as well. Alexander valued her kindness, even as he recognized the vast sea of mentoring-driven young adults and raising children. Nonetheless, those abilities might serve as a base for whatever lay ahead. Once the final guest had left, Rebecca moved closer, intertwining her arm with his. Are you prepared to head back home? What a night it has been. Alexander gazed at her. This remarkable woman who had demonstrated immense strength and profound understanding amidst the turmoil of his life. Indeed, he murmured gently, even though I'm completely in the dark about what comes next. That's a problem for tomorrow, Rebecca said, guiding him toward the exit. This evening we find our peace. We will strategize tomorrow. The journey back was serene, each absorbed in their individual reflections. Upon stepping into Alexander's penthouse, the city lights shimmered beneath them through the expansive windows, and it was Rebecca who finally shattered the quietude. I'll be sleeping in the guest room tonight, she said softly. It's not out of anger. Rather, I believe we both require some time apart to reflect. Alexander nodded, grasping the situation yet still experiencing a twinge of solitude. I have extended an invitation for brunch tomorrow. Presenting this. At 11 o'clock. Rebecca arched an eyebrow. That was fast. 11 years have already slipped away, Alexander remarked with a quiet finality. I refuse to let another day slip away. Rebecca gazed intently at his face, absorbing every detail for a prolonged moment. It seems you're beginning to develop feelings for them, aren't you? Merely from that fleeting exchange. Alexander had not completely come to terms with it on his own, but hearing Rebecca articulate it brought the reality into sharp focus for him. They are remarkable children, intelligent, inquisitive, polite, and they belong to me. Feels like too much to handle. Will you be sharing that with them tomorrow? Rebecca inquired. That you are their father? I informed Catherine that it was time they learned the truth, Alexander affirmed. She consented. Rebecca considered the matter with a thoughtful nod. Tomorrow will be significant for each of you. Would you like me to stay? Or would you rather have some privacy during this family reunion? The inquiry caused Alexander to hesitate. What is it that you seek? To be frank, a part of me feels compelled to be here for your support. There's a part of me that believes this is an experience meant to be felt intimately, away from the gaze of others. Indeed, a portion of me, the more self-centered side, is filled with dread regarding what this signifies for our future. Rebecca's candor was invigorating, albeit excruciating. "I want you in my life, Rebecca," Alexander declared with conviction. "That remains the same. However, I completely respect your need for time to reflect on whether this new reality is something you wish to embrace." "I'll take some time to ponder it," she replied. "I'll inform you in the morning whether I'll be joining you for brunch." With that, she pressed her lips softly against his cheek and withdrew to the guest room, leaving Alexander to ponder in solitude. He meandered through the expansive penthouse, perceiving it anew, as a father anticipating the arrival of his children for their inaugural visit to his abode. The space that once perfectly matched his bachelor lifestyle now appeared strangely sterile, lacking the warmth and personal touches that could make children feel at home. The abstract art pieces, the minimalist furniture, the pristine white surfaces, all selected for their visual allure rather than for comfort or functionality. There was a distinct lack of games, no appropriate literature for preteens, and nothing to capture the curiosity of young minds. In the quiet of his home office, Alexander gazed thoughtfully at the photographs meticulously laid out on his desk. Images captured moments of him accepting accolades, engaging in handshakes with business partners, and even one featuring a past president. However, there are no family photographs. There are no ties to a world beyond the workplace. The revelation hit him with a deep sense of sorrow. On a whim, he flipped open his laptop and started browsing the web for insights on how to raise 11-year-olds. What were the key achievements in their development? What interests were common during that age? How does one even start to reach out to children who have spent their whole lives without the presence of their father? The minutes slipped away as Alexander immersed himself in a labyrinth of parenting websites, delving into child psychology articles and engaging in discussions on forums for non-custodial parents seeking to reconnect with their children. When fatigue ultimately led him to his bed at 3 a.m., his mind was a whirlpool of insights, guidance, and warnings. As he slipped into slumber, his final waking thought was of Emma's smile, reminiscent of his mother's, and the way Ethan's eyes sparkled when they delved into the world of mathematics. No matter the challenges that awaited, Alexander was resolute in his desire to be woven into the fabric of their lives. The morning broke with a crisp, clear light that mirrored Alexander's fresh perspective. Despite having only 4 hours of sleep, he felt a surge of energy unlike anything he had experienced in years. By 7, he was already on the phone with his executive chef, crafting an intricate brunch menu that would delight both children and adults alike. By 8, he had orchestrated a swift delivery of books, games, and little treasures that would surely resonate with Emma and Ethan, tailored to their stated passions. At 9, Rebecca stepped out of the guest room, her casual yet elegant weekend attire perfectly in place. She discovered Alexander in the kitchen, meticulously overseeing the chef's preparations with an uncommon focus on detail. "I see you've been quite occupied," she remarked, taking the cup of coffee he extended to her. Overwhelmed, Alexander confessed. "Rest eluded me. I couldn't help but reflect on everything I've overlooked, all the milestones I wasn't there to see. Their first words, their first steps, the first day of school." Rebecca gently placed her hand atop his. "The past is unchangeable, Alex, yet you hold the power to shape their future by being present." Alexander grasped her hand with appreciation. "I appreciate your understanding. Have you made up your mind about staying for brunch?" Rebecca inhaled deeply. "After a night of contemplation, I've come to the conclusion that I will indeed remain. Not solely for brunch, but for whatever lies ahead. If you still wish for me to be a part of your life, understanding that it now encompasses 2 children." A wave of relief enveloped Alexander. "I was really looking forward to hearing you say that. I prefer not to confront this by myself." Rebecca assured him that it wouldn't be necessary. "However, Alex, we must exercise caution. These children have yet to recognize you as their father. That discovery will be monumental for them to digest. The introduction of a possible stepmother could be overwhelming all at once." Alexander acknowledged with a nod, signaling his comprehension. "Indeed, you are correct. We'll proceed at a measured pace, allowing them to guide us. What are your thoughts on marriage?" Rebecca inquired softly. Is that still something you desire? Now more than ever, Alexander stated with conviction. Indeed, you make a valid point. Timing truly plays a crucial role. Let's navigate today and observe how the children react to the truth. Then we can proceed accordingly. The proposal can be postponed until the timing is ideal for everyone involved. Rebecca's smile carried a mix of relief and a hint of lingering uncertainty. That seems quite sensible. What steps can I take to get ready for our guests? The following hour unfolded in a whirlwind of motion as the penthouse underwent a remarkable transformation. Alexander had curated a selection of thoughtful details. A collection of architecture magazines for Emma, a chess set for Ethan reflecting his passion for strategy games, and cozy throw pillows to add warmth to the sleek modernist furniture. Subtle yet thoughtful, just enough to convey that he had considered their comfort. At exactly 11 o'clock, the private elevator chimed, heralding the arrival of Catherine and the twins. Alexander and Rebecca stood side by side in the entryway, presenting a cohesive image even as a tangle of complex feelings simmered just out of sight. The elevator doors slid open, unveiling Catherine, her expression a mix of tension and resolve, flanked by Ethan and Emma, who surveyed the penthouse with unabashed wonder. Whoa, Ethan exhaled, absorbing the sweeping vista of Central Park. This location is absolutely wild. It felt as if it had leaped straight from the pages of a design magazine, Emma remarked, her eyes sparkling as she absorbed the lofty ceilings and striking windows. Alexander moved ahead, a wave of anxiety washing over him despite his thorough preparation. Greetings and warm regards as you step into my abode. Welcome. Please step inside and feel at ease. As they entered the living area, Alexander observed that both children were attired in a more relaxed manner than the previous evening. Ethan wore jeans paired with a button-down shirt, while Emma donned a floral dress complemented by leggings. Catherine, on the other hand, maintained her formal appearance in a tailored pantsuit, her posture stiff with tension. This is Dr. Rebecca Miller, as introduced by Alexander. She is mine. He paused, unsure of how to articulate the nature of their connection in this situation. Rebecca introduced herself with grace, reaching out her hand to Catherine before extending it to each child in turn. It's wonderful to be reunited with all of you. Are you truly a brain surgeon? Emma inquired, clearly taken aback. Rebecca beamed. I exist. I am employed at Mount Sinai Hospital. That's incredibly fascinating, Emma proclaimed. I possess an abundance of inquiries regarding the brain. I'd be delighted to answer them, Rebecca responded with a friendly tone. Maybe over brunch? The dining room is all set and prepared. With a confident stride, Alexander guided everyone to the dining area, where an exquisite array of dishes awaited, meticulously arranged by the chef. Belgian waffles, fresh fruit, an array of pastries, eggs cooked in 3 distinct styles, and a chocolate fountain that instantly drew the twins' gaze. Is that truly chocolate? Ethan inquired, his eyes wide with curiosity. Indeed, Alexander affirmed, featuring strawberries, marshmallows, and banana slices for dipping. Mom never lets us have chocolate for breakfast, Emma said in a hushed yet emphatic tone, prompting Catherine to arch an eyebrow in response. Special occasions call for special treats, Alexander remarked, his eyes twinkling with mischief, prompting a shy smile from each of the children. As they gathered around the table, Alexander found himself captivated by the peculiar scene they formed. His former spouse, his present companion, and 2 offspring who bore his genetic material yet remained unaware of their link to him. It felt dreamlike, this family gathering that seemed to exist in a state of unspoken recognition. The dialogue unfolded with a surprising ease, as Rebecca adeptly drew the twins into a lively exchange about their passions and academic pursuits. Catherine sat in silence, speaking only when prompted, clearly bracing herself for the challenging discussion that awaited after the meal. Once the children had indulged in their chocolate and sugar, leaving them happily satisfied, Catherine finally addressed the topic they had all been skirting around. Emma, Ethan, she started, her voice more composed than her demeanor. There's something significant that Mr. Hayes and I must talk to you about. The twins gazed up with wide eyes, Chocolate smudged around Ethan's lips and a dollop of whipped cream perched adorably on Emma's nose. Alexander experienced a surge of fierce protectiveness that took his breath away for a moment. "Is it about the true reason we attended the gathering last night?" Emma inquired with keen insight. "Why were you acting so strange, Mom?" Catherine wore a wistful smile. "Your keen eye for detail has always been a double-edged sword. Indeed, it pertains to that matter. It revolves around Mr. Hayes and his significance to our family." Ethan's brow furrowed ever so slightly. "I find myself perplexed. So, he's your former husband, correct? You mentioned that earlier." "Indeed," Catherine affirmed, casting a glance at Alexander. "However, the narrative unfolds further. There's something I've been meaning to share with you for quite some time." Catherine inhaled deeply, her gaze shifting between the twins and Alexander, then returning once more. "Emma, Ethan, the reality is that Mr. Hayes is more than merely my former spouse." She took a moment, summoning her strength. "He is your biological father." A hush enveloped the room. Emma's fork clanged against her plate. Ethan's eyes grew wide, flitting back and forth between his mother and Alexander, a look of bewilderment crossing his face. "However," Emma started, her youthful voice grappling with understanding. "You mentioned that our father chose not to be involved in our lives. He departed before our arrival." Catherine grimaced, the discomfort clear on her features. "I withheld some details from you. At the time of my divorce from your father, I was unaware that I was carrying a child. Doctors had informed him that having children was not an option for him. That's one of the reasons our marriage came to an end. When I found out I was expecting you both, we had already gone our separate ways, and our communication had completely faltered. So, you never mentioned anything about us to him?" Ethan inquired, his keen intellect clearly processing the ramifications. "He didn't leave us behind? He simply lacked understanding." Alexander leaned in, his pulse quickening. "I would never have left you behind if I had known," he murmured gently. "I've recently discovered that you are my children. Discovering this has been the most astonishing and unexpected revelation of my existence." Emma faced her mother, her eyes brimming with tears. "What stopped you from sharing that with him? Why didn't you share that with us?" Catherine extended her hand towards her daughters. "Initially, I attempted to convey my thoughts to him. However, Alexander was journeying across borders, fully immersed in the development of his enterprise. His team intercepted my calls, assuming I was seeking additional benefits from the divorce settlement. After numerous tries, I concluded it could be simpler for all involved if I took on the responsibility of raising you by myself." "That was wrong, Mom," Ethan remarked with unexpected maturity. "Every individual has the right to discover the truth about their biological parents." Catherine nodded, acknowledging the reprimand. "Indeed, you are correct. I have felt the weight of that guilt for 11 long years, knowing it was wrong." Upon receiving Alexander's invitation to the party, I sensed a part of me yearning for this truth to finally be revealed. Alexander cleared his throat, his voice carrying a hint of emotion that made it slightly raspy. I grasped the reasoning behind Catherine's decisions. Our marriage concluded under less than ideal circumstances, and I intentionally distanced myself. I take full responsibility for that error. He fixed his gaze on the twins. "However, I want you both to understand that discovering more about you has been the most wonderful present I could have ever asked for. For 15 years, I held the conviction that having children of my own was beyond my reach. Discovering that I have not just one, but two amazing children feels truly miraculous." Emma's gaze was intense, mirroring Alexander's sharp scrutiny, causing Rebecca to momentarily lose her breath. "What comes next?" the young lady inquired. "Are you just going to step in as our dad out of nowhere?" Alexander considered the question with great care. "I would love to be included in your lives, if you would allow me to be. 11 years have slipped away, never to return. I missed your first steps, your first words, and your first day of school. However, I truly wish to be present for all the upcoming firsts." He offered a soft smile. "I understand if you're not ready to call me Dad immediately, or perhaps not at all if that doesn't resonate with you. I sincerely hope you'll allow me the opportunity to learn about you, just as I wish for you to learn about me. Ethan, always the pragmatist, inquired, do we really need to relocate here? Switching schools? Absolutely not, Catherine reassured him. Your lives can remain exactly as you desire, without any unwanted changes. This is focused on expanding your family, not causing any upheaval. Rebecca, who had been quiet until this moment, spoke gently. Everyone in this room truly cares about what's best for you as well. Take your time. There's no need to have all the answers right now. Emma cast a curious glance at Rebecca. Will you be taking on the role of our stepmom? Alexander and Rebecca shared a knowing look. With great thoughtfulness, Alexander conveyed the profound bond he shares with Rebecca. However, any choices regarding our future will take into account how they impact you. This is quite overwhelming, Ethan remarked, sinking back into his chair. Yesterday, I found myself without a father figure. Today, I have a father who's a millionaire living in a penthouse. Amidst the tension, Alexander found himself unable to suppress a smile at the boy's candid observation. I truly grasp the weight of this situation. I'm still working through it myself. He paused for a moment before suggesting, would it be beneficial if we took some time to simply get to know one another? Take it easy, no need to rush into any major choices. Simply conversing? Emma gave a slow, deliberate nod. I suppose that would be acceptable. She cast a fleeting look at her mother. Is it all right if we have a conversation with him? Catherine nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Absolutely, it is. Alexander waved his hand in the direction of the living room. I observed yesterday that you have a keen interest in architecture. Emma, I possess a collection of books that could pique your interest. I heard you mention chess, Ethan. Are you a participant? The twins entered the living room with a hint of hesitation, trailing behind Alexander as he unveiled the carefully curated items he had gathered that very morning. As they started to delve into these offerings, Rebecca softly placed her hand on Catherine's arm. Would you care for a cup of tea? I believe Alexander might benefit from some solitude with them. Catherine's eyes widened in surprise at the thoughtful gesture from her ex-husband's girlfriend. Yet she responded with a grateful nod. The two women withdrew to the kitchen, leaving Alexander alone with his recently uncovered offspring. In the kitchen, Catherine observed from the doorway as Alexander sat cross-legged on the floor with the twins, deeply engrossed in an animated discussion about an architecture book. Catherine observed quietly that he appeared to have a natural affinity for them. Rebecca acknowledged with a nod, setting about the task of preparing 2 cups of tea. He has a natural ability to connect with others, which contributes significantly to his success in the business world. However, this situation is distinct. There exists a bond that feels instinctual. Catherine took the steaming cup, her hands quivering just a bit. I have committed numerous errors. Initially, I genuinely attempted to convey my thoughts to him. However, after those efforts didn't succeed, I persuaded myself that this was the preferable outcome. He wouldn't desire the added complexity of children, especially after being so dedicated to his career. She gently shook her head. As time went on, it grew increasingly difficult to envision how I might articulate the reasons behind my silence. Rebecca remarked, her tone devoid of any judgment, that you were raising twins on your own. That must have been quite a challenge. Catherine conceded that it wasn't. Yet, they have brought me the utmost happiness in my existence. I truly wish they can find it in their hearts to forgive me for withholding this from them. Children possess an incredible strength, Rebecca remarked. It's evident that they hold you in high regard. Catherine observed Rebecca with a fresh sense of admiration. Your empathy in light of the situation is truly commendable. Many women may find themselves overwhelmed by such a complex scenario. Rebecca offered a sly smile. Throughout my professional journey, I have navigated intricate challenges and faced tough choices. This is undoubtedly an unexpected turn, yet it doesn't have to be viewed negatively. She hesitated. Moreover, I found myself captivated by Alexander, fully aware that he was unable to have children. That was never a requirement for me. Discovering that he has children doesn't alter my feelings for him. It merely reshapes the path we will take together moving forward. In the living room, Alexander was demonstrating a sophisticated chess strategy to Ethan, while Emma perused a book on sustainable architecture. "So if you're our biological father," Ethan was inquiring, his scientific curiosity shining through, "why did the doctors inform you that you couldn't have children?" Alexander pondered the best way to convey the information in a manner suitable for their age. "I have a health issue that significantly hinders my ability to have children. The doctors insisted it was impossible, yet here I am, proving them wrong." He offered a gentle smile. "Both you and Emma exemplify this perfectly. Mom refers to us as her miracle babies," Emma remarked, glancing up from her book. It seems that realization runs deeper than she understood. "Indeed, you are truly remarkable," Alexander concurred, his heart swelling with feeling. "The most delightful variety. Have you ever contemplated the idea of starting a family?" Ethan inquired. "Prior to your awareness of our existence, I mean." Alexander gave a slow, deliberate nod. "I have always dreamed of having children. Hearing the doctors say I couldn't have any was one of the most challenging truths I've ever had to come to terms with. This is one of the reasons my marriage to your mother came to an end. Her desire for children was profound, and I was unable to fulfill that wish. At least that was our shared conviction." "That's unfortunate," Emma remarked with contemplation. "However, you are now aware that having children is an option for you. Will that alter your relationship with Dr. Miller?" Alexander found himself consistently amazed by the twins' keen insight. "Rebecca was aware of my condition prior to us becoming serious. She has consistently expressed that her career takes precedence over motherhood. Indeed, this alters the situation in certain respects. We must all contemplate the implications this holds for what lies ahead." "Do you have any additional children?" Ethan inquired with a sense of practicality. "Perhaps there are others among us that remain unknown to you." Alexander found himself chuckling uncontrollably. "No, I am absolutely convinced that you two are my only offspring. And that elevates your significance in my eyes even further." As the dialogue unfolded, Alexander was captivated by the swift bond he felt with these children, his offspring. Emma possessed an innate grasp of human nature, harmoniously intertwined with Catherine's creative flair. Ethan possessed the keen analytical mind and strategic passion that had once belonged to Alexander. Both exhibited a wonder about the world that Alexander recalled from his own youth. In the kitchen, Rebecca and Catherine found themselves engaged in a surprisingly easy conversation about the twins' personalities and accomplishments. Catherine was saying that Emma has always been the one with the artistic flair. She perceives elegance in every corner. Ethan is the inquisitive mind of our home, perpetually conducting experiments and seeking answers. Rebecca spoke with genuine admiration about the children, calling them extraordinary. "Your efforts in nurturing them have been truly commendable." Catherine smiled, the weight of her earlier tension starting to lift. "Thanks a lot. That holds significant value." She paused, contemplating her question. "What do you believe Alexander will desire now regarding his engagement with them?" Rebecca pondered the question thoughtfully. "Given my understanding of him, I believe he will strive to be completely engaged in their lives. Alexander goes all in with everything he does. However, he will honor both your boundaries and theirs." She hesitated. This is a new frontier for everyone involved. Catherine admitted that her greatest worry was the twins. "Their childhood has been marked by stability and joy. I wish to ensure they remain free from any turmoil or divided loyalties between their residences." Rebecca reassured her, saying, "I don't believe that's what Alexander wants either. It appears he aims to enhance their lives rather than cause any disruption." Their conversation was momentarily halted by the sound of laughter emanating from the living room, a pure and unrestrained joy shared by both children. Catherine and Rebecca stepped to the doorway, watching as Alexander showcased an over-the-top golf swing, seemingly imitating someone the twins were unfamiliar with. Amidst laughter, Alexander recounted how the club slipped from his grasp and plummeted into the water hazard. The gentleman found himself trudging through the water, his tailored suit soaked up to the knees as he reached for the lost item. The twins were bent over with laughter at the tale and Alexander's lively narration of it. Catherine felt tears welling in her eyes at the sight. How swiftly they had bonded. How effortlessly they appeared together. An unmistakable connection was beginning to take shape, affirming the emotions she had both dreaded and longed for. The essence of biology was undeniable, and these children were unmistakably reflections of their fathers. "I believe," Rebecca murmured gently beside her, "that this will resolve itself one way or another." The remainder of the morning unfolded in a haze of dialogue, playful activities, and a tentative yet deepening bond. When Catherine declared it was time to depart for Ethan's afternoon science club meeting, a fragile ease had blossomed between Alexander and the twins. "Is it possible for us to return?" Emma inquired as they collected their belongings, addressing the question to both her mother and Alexander. "I would love that," Alexander said, glancing at Catherine for her approval. "We can set something up for next weekend," Catherine agreed, her earlier stiffness eased by the morning's uplifting exchanges. As they got ready to depart, Alexander crouched to meet the twins' gaze. "This may feel overwhelming. I want you both to understand that my intention is not to take the place of the family you already cherish. I genuinely look forward to being a part of your lives as we move ahead, in whatever manner suits you best." Emma, full of spontaneity and kindness, swiftly wrapped her arms around Alexander's neck in a brief embrace. "I've always been curious about the origin of my eyes," she murmured, pulling away slightly, a hint of embarrassment coloring her cheeks. Ethan extended a more subdued handshake, yet his eyes sparkled with a fresh curiosity and cautious acceptance. "Your chess strategy could use some improvement," he remarked, lacing his words with a touch of his father's wry wit. "We should definitely make time to practice next time." "I eagerly anticipate it," Alexander responded, his voice heavy with feeling. Once the elevator doors sealed shut behind Catherine and the twins, Alexander faced Rebecca, his expression a blend of joy and incredulity. "That occurred, didn't it? I never envisioned it." Rebecca beamed, embracing him tightly. "It occurred. Your children, Alexander, are truly remarkable. It appears they have a fondness for you." "They're incredible," he remarked, still in contemplation. "Incredibly intelligent and wonderfully distinctive. What a stroke of fortune I've encountered." "The universe has its own secrets," Rebecca said, leading him back to the living room. "Now, let's delve into what unfolds next." They sank into the sofa, the weight of the morning's emotional turmoil enveloping them both. "I aspire to be a genuine father to them," Alexander stated confidently, "more than a casual presence or an abstract concept. I've lost 11 years. I refuse to let any more slip away." Rebecca considered the matter with a thoughtful nod. "I anticipated that. I believe that is indeed correct. However, it will necessitate considerable adjustments to our current way of life." "Are you referring to our plans? What about the proposal?" Alexander inquired with a sudden sense of concern. "It's more than that. Your entire way of living, Alex. Your days stretch to 16 hours of work. You embark on international journeys with little to no advance warning. To be fully engaged in the twins' lives, you'll need to reorganize your priorities." Alexander had overlooked the practical implications, yet he recognized instantly that Rebecca was correct. "I will assign more tasks to others, minimize my journeys, increase remote work opportunities. Is that something you engage in? Take a moment to distance yourself from the organization that has been the center of your existence." Rebecca's question held no challenge. It was simply a quest to grasp the true extent of his dedication. Without a moment's pause, Alexander declared, "I created that company believing it would be the sole mark I could make. At this point, I realize that isn't accurate. Emma and Ethan, they embody my true legacy. The organization is capable of operating independently, as I have assembled a robust leadership team. However, I cannot pass on the responsibility of being a father." Rebecca's demeanor softened as she grasped his hand. "Your qualities assure me that you'll excel in fatherhood. Your focus is beginning to change." "What about us?" Alexander inquired. "I understand this isn't what you expected." Rebecca fell silent for a brief moment. "I committed to a future alongside you, Alexander. The details of that existence were destined to change as time progressed." She beamed with joy, I never had a strong desire to have children of my own, yet I discover that I'm quite receptive to the notion of being involved in these children's lives. They are extraordinary, and they belong to you. A wave of relief enveloped Alexander. Here comes the proposal. He can wait until the moment feels appropriate, Rebecca concluded for him. Take your time. Our priority should be to support Emma and Ethan as they adapt to your presence in their lives. Everything else will align perfectly. Alexander enveloped her in a warm embrace, his heart swelling with appreciation for her unwavering understanding and support. I am not worthy of you, she chuckled softly, a gentle agreement that mirrored her sentiments from the night before. Fortunately, love isn't contingent upon merit. In the weeks that ensued, a fresh cadence started to take shape. Alexander adjusted his timetable to ensure he could spend quality time with the twins regularly. Occasionally at their residence, at times in his upscale apartment, consistently with Catherine's complete agreement. The early discomfort slowly transformed into a heartfelt bond as Alexander embraced the happiness of fatherhood, assisting with assignments, participating in Ethan's science competition, appreciating Emma's recent architectural designs. Catherine, too, appeared to discover tranquility as she observed the uplifting effect Alexander's presence had on the children. The weight of years of guilt started to fade as she witnessed her choice to unveil the truth validated by the joy it ultimately brought forth. One evening, roughly 2 months after the winter gala that had altered the course of their lives, Alexander sat on a park bench, observing Ethan and Emma as they engaged with the high-tech drone he had gifted them. It was enlightening, he had assured Catherine, as it imparted knowledge on the principles of aerodynamics and the intricacies of remote control programming. Rebecca settled next to him, their hands naturally intertwined. They're handling it far more skillfully than I ever could, Alexander confessed, observing the children deftly navigate the device through a challenging array of obstacles. They have an innate talent, Rebecca concurred. Exactly as their father did. Alexander faced her, his demeanor shifting to one of gravity. I've been pondering. The last couple of months have brought me unparalleled joy. Discovering Emma and Ethan, with you accompanying me through every moment, I feel an urgency to move forward without delay. He delved into his pocket and retrieved a petite velvet box. This isn't the intricate tableau I envisioned for the gala. Neither a string quartet nor a champagne fountain. Yet this way feels more appropriate. As he lifted the lid of the box, the same breathtaking diamond ring emerged, the one that had been meant for the announcement 2 months prior. Rebecca Miller, will you take my hand in marriage? Will you join me in marriage, stand by my side as my partner, and if they welcome you, embrace the role of a mother figure to Emma and Ethan? Rebecca's gaze shimmered with emotion as she shifted her focus from the ring to the children frolicking nearby, then returned to Alexander. Indeed, she replied with a straightforward tone. Absolutely, to everything. As Alexander slid the ring onto her finger, a jubilant shout erupted from the spot where the twins were engaged in their playful antics. They had skillfully maneuvered the drone through the most challenging part of their improvised obstacle course. Their faces radiated a sense of achievement and happiness, mirroring the expression Alexander wore as he kissed his fiancée. As the evening unfolded, after returning the twins to Catherine's apartment, Alexander and Rebecca strolled hand in hand along the snow-kissed streets of Manhattan. The winter that commenced with a transformative revelation was yielding to the first hints of spring, a perfect symbol for the fresh start they were all undergoing. You know, Alexander remarked as they strolled, I've been reflecting on that diagnosis from so many years back. The doctors were unwavering, resolute in their assertion that I would never be able to father children. Medicine doesn't always adhere to precise formulas, Rebecca replied. Every rule has its exceptions, those rare instances that elude understanding. Or perhaps, Alexander mused, looking up at the stars that were just starting to appear in the deepening twilight. Some things in life are destined to happen, no matter the challenges they face. Rebecca beamed, gently clasping his hand. The analytical side of me leans towards attributing it to a statistical anomaly. However, the woman within me favors your interpretation. As they arrived at their building, Alexander halted, glancing back toward Catherine's apartment, where his children were probably preparing for sleep. For 15 years, I shaped my identity based on what was out of reach, centered on constraints and absence. I shaped my identity around the voids in my life, never realizing that something remarkable was waiting for me all this time. Occasionally, the most remarkable treasures reveal themselves when we cease our search for them, Rebecca noted. At times, they existed in plain sight, merely awaiting their moment of revelation. Alexander nodded, contemplating the intertwined paths that had led them all to this moment. His journey from solitude to belonging, Catherine's shift from concealment to transparency, the twins' evolution from half-truths to full self-discovery, and Rebecca's transition from a meticulously crafted future to an unforeseen yet embraced new path. He spoke quietly, reflecting on the countless years he felt had slipped away, time that could have been shared with them. The past is unchangeable, Rebecca said softly, offering a comforting reminder. Yet you possess the present moment and all the tomorrows to come. Your attention should be directed there. Alexander grinned, fully aware that she was correct. During one winter, his perception of himself and his role in the world underwent a profound change. The individual who once thought himself unable to bring forth life had unearthed the truth that he had indeed accomplished this feat in welcoming these fresh bonds. He realized a sense of fulfillment that no achievement in the corporate world could ever match. Upon entering the cozy embrace of their home, Alexander was enveloped by a deep wave of gratitude. Life seldom followed a predetermined path, yet often its unforeseen twists brought forth destinations more exquisite than one could ever envision. His transformation from a prosperous yet solitary entrepreneur to a devoted father and soon-to-be husband revealed to him the boundless nature of love and the endless possibilities for self-discovery, no matter the timing. The winter gathering, originally meant to herald a new chapter, unexpectedly unveiled a much deeper transformation. As Alexander Hayes, once an infertile millionaire and now a devoted father, gazed into the future with his growing family, he realized that true wealth in life was not tied to the fortune he had accumulated, but rather to the love he discovered when he least anticipated it. Ultimately, the most important lesson became evident. No authority can foresee every twist and turn of existence. No assessment can confine the wondrous ways life can astonish us, and no level of achievement can rival the pure delight of forging connections with others. The genuine gauge of richness transcends mere currency or accolades. It lies in the profound connections forged and the affection exchanged among those who, whether by fate or intention, have woven themselves into the fabric of family. At times, the most exquisite passages of our existence unfold precisely when we believe our narrative has reached its conclusion. For Alexander, Emma, Ethan, Rebecca, and even Catherine, this unexpected reunion had unveiled a pathway to a future more vibrant than any of them had ever envisioned, demonstrating once more that the most precious treasures in life frequently come in forms we never anticipated, at times when we are least prepared for them.